Any others?
The only other question we had was just what's the deal with bug reporting? Because Syntax and I have compiled some pretty detailed and outstanding bugs over the past couple of years, and we haven't really heard anything on it.
You have to remember that Active World is a very large environment. It's not the only environment. There's hundreds of other galaxies, unisurface out there that when we do an update and they get updated to it, we have to make sure that it works everywhere. And so with a limited programming staff, your main two programmers are Chris and they are Seamus, and they have certain priorities that they have to work with, and their direction comes directly from above. So the best thing I can say, if you have a bug that you think is really important that's not being addressed, then work with me to help you get that bug addressed. So send me the details on what it is, how it works, and then I'll explain it. But there's certain things like the bug you guys did. You did an excellent detail on it with the trees. The 100 chord bug where the thing disappears, and that's not actually, wouldn't so much call it a bug as a limitation in the software, but it's not something that doesn't mean that it couldn't be fixed at some point or improved at some point. But the question is that improvement a priority? And right now, calves have been a priority, the tweaking of 4.2 has been a priority, that's coming out in September, October for all universes, and so Chris and Seamus have to make sure that that's up to spec before it gets released, and that's the main focus right now. So what happens is that when we have slower times, they'll focus on a lot of these different these bugs that they are annoying, but they're not product killers, and so they have to be prioritized accordingly. But like Chris and I discussed it the other day, and if you have something that you feel is extremely important and that isn't getting addressed because it's being listed in the forums and either it's not understood or it's just not considered a priority, then send it to me. I will hold on to it until the right moment, or what I believe is the right moment, and then I'll address it with the correct people. So just give me as much detail as you can, because I'm not as smart as all of you guys, and so point out for me what it is, where we can fix certain things, and that's what we'll do. We'll then take that and we'll focus on it. I have a big list of little areas of things that we can fix up.
I compile it down to the top 3 bugs.
Yeah, and that's simply keep your own list and send me the top 3, but make sure that I have all the details that I need. Pretend I'm a complete idiot. I would not know what you're talking about, and explain it out for me in very basic terms, and then I will take it to the appropriate people and we'll get it addressed when it fits into the schedule. It's important to remember that Active Worlds is a smaller company, and so some of these things do get put aside while we work on other stuff, and sometimes the priorities for us don't match up with the priorities for you guys, but generally our priorities are what keep us in business, and so that's why some of these other things might get put off to the side, because you look at it and you say, okay, this is something that we know is frustrating or annoying, we know that needs to be fixed, but right now we have to take care of this, and this to keep the doors open, and that's what we'll generally do.
And one of the 2 things that I've noted as far as reporting bugs that can help Chris is, number 1, giving a location as to where this is occurring so that he can actually go and see it. That means the world, that means the coordinates, exactly where it is so that he can go and see an example of it. And number 2 is, if it's not in a particular location or it can be replicated anywhere, detail how you can replicate it, if you figured out how that's possible.
Yeah.
Because then if he can recreate it, he can be like, oh, I see it, all right, I know how to fix it. If he can't recreate it, then it becomes very hard for him to be able to fix it.
Definitely, when you send me that information, tell me how I can go and recreate it, because then I can go and recreate it for them and show them exactly what it is that we're talking about, because I'll have a little more time to figure that out than someone like Chris or Rick or Seamus would.
How about bugs that are not necessarily recreatable so often? The new Pinocchio syndrome we've got. Sometimes I've got a nose that's huge. Sometimes it's back behind my head. Sometimes I'm only dressed on a quarter of my body.
That's actually been a bug that we've been trying to get fixed. There's been a few elusive bugs that have been popping up in 4.2, and we keep testing and testing, trying to figure out what's causing it. As far as the nose bug, it's definitely known about. Sometimes we don't hear whether it's actually being worked on, but we are trying to track it down. So I do apologize if sometimes you're not hearing, well, we're working on it. We're kind of like, what is it? What is it? We don't have anything definite to say, okay, this is what it is, and it's going to take a while to fix it. It's just, it hasn't gotten fixed yet.
But the staff is aware of it, and I have several emails of elongated noses in my inbox, Pinocchio syndrome.
And noses in the back, and noses this way.
Yeah. And shovel ones. Those are the real fun ones. That comes out, points down, and then just broads out. Yeah. And then the people themselves don't see it on themselves. It's only everybody else that sees them. And so they think they're fine on third person, but everybody else watches them walk by. And so, you know, like, especially at the gate, I'll go in there and look at myself, well, that's fine. No, I have to reset right away because I know I'm walking around, you know. So.
Yeah, there's a few crazy bugs roaming around. They've been very elusive. And those are the ones that are getting the attention right now because we got to get those fixed before we put 4.2 out.
The key is to be honest, actually. Every time you tell a lie in Active World, you know we're good.
That's it. Okay, how about more stuff for the CAV? So there's just no hairstyles, shoes, you know, all of that.
That's something I keep trying to express in the forums every time somebody asks, well, can we have this put in, put that in? Basically, right now, we put enough stuff in to be able to test the CAV system. That way, you know, people could hopefully find any of the bugs. It would be enough to do that, and then we could get those fixed. Once that's done, we've gotten it all working, especially the layout right now has been changing a number of times, and I think it's still going to be going through another change before we're finally done. So it's simplified for people, and it's easier for them to actually make their CAVs. Once that's done, then we can put more stuff in. We've got more stuff lined up, we just haven't put it in yet because of that. Because the more stuff that's in there, the more complex it is to actually test everything.
Essentially, you guys aren't using the finished product yet.
Yeah.
So the finished product of 4.2 hasn't actually been released. We've moved it into the Active Worlds universe, and you know, because that's also our own testing ground. It's the only place that we go and we test different things and try different concepts and things. That's the main place that we do it. So.
I'm very curious about, you said you're making up a kit that users can make their own content.
That will hopefully be released at some point, where we'll have like some basic items that people can start from, and they'll be able to see what's there, and then they can branch off from there. And that way world owners can kind of customize things to their own way, their own look. But we'd like to have something for them to start out with. We want to have avatars in Active Worlds finally evolve to the next step.
Essentially, you'll be getting a template. Yeah. And the idea is that someone who runs like an RPG world, like AWRPG, can turn off the CAV system, you know, the universe CAV system in their world, but have their own CAV system so that when their players come in, they can customize their own look and, you know, fit in with the theme of that environment.
But we realized starting from scratch like we did would be difficult, if not impossible, for most people in there. So we want to give them something to start off with, so that they don't have to go through what we did.